Hi everyone, welcome back to the Science Labs at the Nature Museum. I'm Nicole. Today we're going to explore leaf patterns with a fun art activity. Our friend and artist Katherine Lampert is going to take us through it. Let's check it out.
We're going to be doing nature rubbings. So a good thing to start with is a bag that you can use to collect objects from nature, from your surroundings. Go on a nature walk and collect as many things as you can find that have an interesting texture. Leaves are great, especially if they have a very bumpy vein texture on the back. I also really like to try to find ferns or other types of leaves that are different shapes and sizes. You can try twigs and flowers, pine cones, anything else that you can find in your environment. And then I'm going to use a crayon and a thin sheet of paper. So it's best to use copy paper or something that is very lightweight paper so that the texture of the rubbing can come through easily versus some heavier weight watercolor paper, which in my experience doesn't work quite as well. So I'm going to start with this interesting leaf that we found outside the Nature Museum. And I'm going to put it on top of my paper. It's good to have a sheet underneath so that it eliminates picking up any surface texture from whatever surface you're working on. And then I'm going to put another sheet on top. A little trick I learned just through experimenting with my daughter on this project over the weekend is instead of using the pointy edge of your crayon to make your rubbing, use the side of your crayon. So this is a great project to do with all of your leftover broken crayons. So again, using the side of your crayon and starting out lightly. You can always add more pressure if you want to add more texture, but I feel like it's a really good strategy to start really light. And once I have the texture, I kind of like to stop coloring so that I don't fill in all of the spaces in between the interesting lines. Flowers and other objects can sometimes be a little bit more difficult to capture in a rubbing than leaves, but I'm going to try this one anyway and see how it comes out. And a lot of times teachers tell kids don't break your crayons, but I'm breaking my crayon because it's just going to help me a little bit here. When you're done making rubbings of all of your objects, you're going to have something that looks like this. And the next thing that you're going to do is get out your watercolor set. So I like to choose colors that contrast with the color of the crayon that I used. And it's also fun to try out using a white or a clear crayon if you have one laying around, so that your design is a complete surprise. But in this case we used blue, so I'm going to use a little orange, red, and the reason this works so well is that the wax kind of repels the water. So again, I'm using washable watercolors, trying to get as much pigment on my brush as I can. So for this one I used a clear crayon. You could also use a white crayon because it's the same color as the paper, and that's kind of fun because you don't really know what your design is going to look like until you start adding the watercolor and revealing the invisible pattern underneath. So when your watercolors are dry, you can see that the patterns that you made when you were doing the rubbing with your crayon are really starting to pop. And that's our nature rubbing project for today. Hope you enjoyed.
Katherine, that looks great. What a wonderful way to explore leaf patterns using things that we'd have right at home. Thanks everyone for joining us. Let us know what leaf patterns you find when you're exploring outdoors. See you next time.